Hey viewers, wanted to do yet another video, which seems to be kind of lately a reoccurring theme, kind of more on the business side of things, real world outside of what we usually talk about on these things like this on this channel. The topic today is really, I was thinking about what should I call it, maybe called overcoming yourself. And I'm not talking about people who've done some really impressive things, whether it's they've overcome an addiction or maybe they were obese and they changed their lifestyle. Not talking about those things because those are super truly special and inspiring people. But what I wanted to talk about is kind of, because everything is really relative to yourself, right? Meaning somebody may overcome something, but to you, something that is a big deal to you may not be a big deal to someone else, is what I'm trying to say. So what I wanted to talk about is, and I've started to talk about this in some of the videos, that people on the channel have asked me, what do I do for a living, that kind of thing. And I thought I would enlighten them and humor myself at the same time. But I'm currently a business executive, president, CEO for the organization I work for. I'm very proud of that. Worked extremely hard for many number of years to get to that point. Always stayed humbled, always tried to learn from my mistakes and my successes, not just mine, but others as well, and try to make it my own and always be changing and working hard. But it wasn't always that easy. And I'll give you some background because it has to do more with my personality. So as a little boy, I was always extremely shy, like clamped to my mother's leg. And if my mom would run into a friend of hers and would want me to say hello, I would, this is like a 3-4-year-old kid, how I was. And then even when I got a little older, 9, 10, 11, 12, still very bashful, didn't have a lot of self-confidence, whether it was my appearance or my personality. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And this is before adolescence, and then you add that in, that's a whole nother layer. I always thought I was ugly. And yeah, now I could say, well, maybe I am ugly. I don't care. Like, to each their own. But I would never even joke about that because I would be so self-conscious. Like, oh, if I say I'm ugly, that means I'm ugly, so what? Public speaking, that kind of thing, getting in front of people, it was just nerve-wracking beyond belief for me, super nerve-wracking. And then ironically, like, you get to school, high school, start in middle school, high school, you start having to do like group presentations. I remember in 5th grade, middle school for me, I had this reading teacher, Mr. Lally. He was also my homeroom teacher. No, he wasn't my reading teacher. Yeah, was he my reading teacher? No, I think he was my science teacher. Whatever. It's not the point. The point is, he wanted us, this is why I think reading teacher, but I felt like it was a science room. He wanted us to read 1 book a month. And he wanted us to then when we got done that book, get up in front of the class for 5 minutes and talk about what the book was. So, AKA a book report. And he said, you can have a note card. That's it. And he's like, I'm telling you, he's like, the first couple months, everybody will be really nervous. They'll have their note cards. Within a few months, you won't be nervous and you won't have a note card anymore because you won't need to. Boy, was he right. And that was kind of like a hint that I might someday be okay because I did get very comfortable at that point. So fast forward into high school and even into college, having to do some group presentations. I was fine with that, it really wasn't a big deal, but still I was that guy in my group of friends that like, or even that kind of person where I would hang out in the peripheral and just kind of observe. Like I wouldn't jump in the center of attention until I was really comfortable, because I do have a very outgoing side of my personality, but I have to be very comfortable. And that's how I was, right? So then I get into the business world. Really, I should say the sales world, which why would I ever do such a thing? You have to give presentations. You have to like present to your boss. Your boss will listen in on phone calls. And that was the worst thing for me. I at that time I was still very nervous in front of customers, but I was even more nervous in front of my coworkers or my boss. Hearing my boss, like the fact that my cubicle was right in front of my boss's office and he was a complete psychopath to begin with. I knew he was listening to everything. And then I would hear him, I get off the phone, he would yell, "Oh, you should have said the instead of the." That was sales? Like, oh, it's bad. And then I got to a point where I was dealing with some anxiety, which I still occasionally deal with. I can't figure out what triggers it. It just happens when it does, and I know when it's going to happen, and I know it lasts like 20 minutes and it'll go away. So I just have to, if it hits me at an inopportune time, I just have to roll with it and try to ignore it and not let it feed back on itself. Because if I start to sweat or start to get really nervous or lose my train of thought, I start to think, oh, people are noticing that, and then it just makes it worse. So I'm able to disconnect that part of it, and it goes away pretty quickly. But I remember, fast forward to like when I'm about 30 years old, I was presenting in front of two things. I was going to get a job interview, or was going on a job interview, and I had to present. First time I ever had to do that in a job interview. I opened my car door, I got out, I went in the back seat to get my suit jacket, looked up at the building, said I can't do that. Took my suit jacket off, threw it in the car, drove away. I somehow, some way got another shot at it. There was a recruiter. I was like, oh, I really wanted that job. What was I thinking? Like, that was dumb. Like, if I present on something I know, and I know that they don't know it, then that's easy, right? Because they don't know if I slip up. So ultimately, that's what I did. I was allowed to pick a topic, so I presented on something that I presented on the product that I was selling in my current job, because I knew they really wanted to know it in and out. So that was fine. And then at that job later on, and that was a very cutthroat sales organization I worked for at that time. It was all about getting the order. It was, who cares if you piss off the customer? Who cares if you alienate them? Just get the order, hit your number, or you're in big trouble. I didn't stay at that company too long. That was the shortest stop in my on my resume, because that's just not my personality. And I remember we had to present quarterly. We had to do quarterly business reviews in front of our peers. And I remember I went up there and to do mine, and I just remember sweating profusely, and then realizing people could probably see me sweat, so that like my heart started racing and just triggered an avalanche. And then I remember seeing my boss get up, and I saw him go to the thermostat, and then I saw him opening windows. So then to me it confirmed that it was that obvious. And I just and I heard someone make a comment like, oh, like, look, there's a sweat, it's burning up there, or something like that. Oh, awful. And that was a time in my life where I remember trying to drive somewhere in the city for the same job. We were having some type of like celebration dinner or whatever, or overnight kickoff, and I got lost, and it was before the way GPS is today, and I remember just like going in circles and not being able to get into the building, and I remember having a panic attack, like just crazy stuff. And my natural tendency was always to either be with myself or just be in a very close knit tight group that I'm comfortable with. But I pushed myself. I did those presentations. that quarterly business review, I went up there the next quarter and did it again, and did it the following quarter. I was there for 2 years, so you don't have to know math that well to figure out how many times I was up there. And that was just for those. That doesn't even count presentations we had to do to our boss and this and that. So I got a little bit better. I got a little of that stuff under control. Now, the stuff I was presenting on, I never had a problem with the material. Like, that wasn't the issue. It was just the anxiety of being up there in front of people when I would rather just be in a room by myself, the door shut. And I used to say, maybe I need to rethink my career and do something where I'm just not talking to anybody, like an engineer. And I'm not putting engineers down, but engineers are very focused on like what they're building and what they're making. They're not presenting to people at that. So then I was like, why can't I like working with people and teaching people. Like, why can't I I'll be a gym teacher because I love fitness. It's like, I'll work with young people, encourage them to be. It's like, I'd just be no presentations as a gym teacher. And I'm not putting gym teachers down. I think it would be a very fulfilling career. Then I thought about personal trainer, like something like that. And I slowly trudged along. I left that job, went to the next one, and we didn't have to do as many presentations in the next one. And ultimately, I became a manager there. So I had some presenting responsibilities, but it was fairly manageable. And now, like in my current role, I was a vice president, president, CEO. Now I'm presenting all the time. And then even when I'm not presenting, when I get invited to, like, if the team, if somebody, one of the other managers is having a meeting on a topic and they invite me, there's all eyes on me because the big boss is there. And I just you have to show confidence and not waver. And what I'm trying to say is, if you suffer from any type of anxiety, or if you're very shy, but you want to come out of that, you can. What you have to do is, and I heard this line, I was watching a show I really like on Paramount Plus. One of the characters said, unfortunately this character is a complete mess on the show, but what he said, this one line, stuck with me, and I watched this last week, stuck with me. He said, always run towards your problems, don't run away from them. And it made me kind of think about, like, reflect in my life, like, what were situations that I've like kind of like tried to dodge, or like, not that they'll go away, but like maybe if I wait them out, they won't be as bad. Never works out that way. You're gonna, the bill's gonna come due at some point, and you got to pay up. But if you do it on your terms, you take control. And that was one of the other challenges I think I have in my life, like with, especially when I was younger, with being in those public places with everybody and everything. I always need to be in control of my person. I don't need to control other people, but I need to be in control. So, like, it's so nice when, this is a horrible example, but because it makes me sound like, makes me sound a little horrible. If someone says, hey, your place or mine for maybe a get-together, I prefer yours, because I can control myself and leave when I want. If I have people at my house, I mean, I could throw them out, but I'm not going to do that. I can't control what people are looking at, what people, all that, how long to stay and all that. But if I go to your house, and I am a stickler with what time I go to bed and all that stuff. Again, I talk in another video, I'm very organized and structured in my life, but I like that, right? So what I'm saying is, you can overcome all that if you run towards it, right? Run towards the challenge in your life, run towards the problem. And it may be a little painful by running towards it, but I'm telling you, it's going to be less painful and over with more quickly than it would be if you try to dodge it or stay away from it and let it eventually slowly catch up to you. So if my point being with my shyness when I was younger, My point being is, if I said no to every job, that might put me, if I never went back on that interview, if I never put myself in a difficult situation, what I felt like was a difficult situation to overcome, I would not be here in my career where I am today. I probably wouldn't be on this camera right now either. And it just goes a long way to show you that if you're willing to be uncomfortable by choice, to ultimately become a better person, it's going to work. It's like, the whole saying, change is never easy. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not trying, or those phrases, but it's very true, very relevant. And lastly here is, I just talked about it, being on camera. I have watched, there's a few YouTubers out there that I feel like have very similar hobbies to me. We may also be a lot different in other ways, but we have very similar hobbies, similar kind of views on how we make videos, very authentic and real, like not polished and super edited type videos, just very real. And I've been wanting to do that for so long, and I had a list of topics and what I would start with and what, and I must have waited like 2 years to do it. I gotta do it. It's on my list. I have a list of things like to do and try. And finally I was like, you know what, just do it. After I watched it, I started watching videos on people talking about making videos, and they're like, just do it. It's gonna be bad. And then you're gonna be like, oh, the next one, I try to add this, try to add that. So my first couple of videos, I was not on camera. Again, this goes back to my childhood, being shy. I'm like, I don't want to be on camera. And then, I think none of us really like the sound of our own voice, but I got over that years ago. And, I know what I look like on camera. Everybody has cameras these days. There's videos of me up on social media, etc. So, I just said, I'm going to do it. One of my first videos is of a toaster oven, an unboxing of a toaster oven. And I'm going to talk about this toaster oven. You got to start somewhere, right? So here I am now, almost a year later, because I started this channel about a year ago. I am here now talking about my anxiety, talking about my shyness in front of people. And here I am for the whole world to see, or as many people that will see this video, which is still a very small channel, but being very real and talking about it. So I just want to say, if you're thinking about doing it, let's start working backwards. If you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel, videos or whatnot, just do it. You don't even have to talk. Just show them something and then build off of it. My son now appears in my videos. He's very similar to me, very similar. If you watch this channel, you'll see him in the peripheral. Like he'll actually give me suggestions. A lot of the suggestions for videos are his, and he's like hanging out behind me and like looking in the camera. And then if I get into the camera, he's looking at it and he'll give me the thumbs up that I'm still in the frame. That's stuff you don't see most of the time. And then I got to the point where I started asking, like, hey, do you want to explain this to them? No, you talk. Okay. But I've gotten him to the point where if we are, see this fan here, say if we're taking this fan apart and servicing it, I'll talk through what he does to work on camera, which is cool. And this also, for a father-son hobby, this will be cool like 10, 15, 20 years from now, like looking at these things. So start small and build from it. And then I'm not saying you have to go on here and share all your feelings like I am today, but certainly get comfortable. If it's something you want to do, what's stopping you other than yourself? And then whether you are in business, whether you are not in business, whatever you're doing in your life, if you are naturally a shy person, you're comfortable at night being by yourself. Hey, I still am. After I'm done for the day, after I'm done being on camera and done being in front of the computer and on Teams all day, I don't want to talk to anyone in the evening. just how I am. I just want to be left alone. That's fine too. But don't let that stop you from living up to your potential. And you may say, well, I don't want to live up to my potential because I'm more comfortable. That's fine too. But don't be like me and be like, oh, I really want a YouTube channel. But I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to talk on camera. But I said, you know what? I don't want all this time to go by and be like, well, I wish I would have done that. Now here we are. March will, I think, be about a year. I think I had one old video before that, but I'm not really counting that one. And I have posted at least one video a day since the toaster oven. I think the toaster oven was the first one, something like that. I posted at least one video per day, and I've met some cool virtual friends, and I encourage it. And this has helped me professionally as well, because there's times where I have to get on camera for my day job, not YouTube related, but it just makes me more comfortable. All right, well, I've talked long enough, and I just hope this is useful. I hope for those of you who follow the channel and all those other cool things we do, maybe this gives you some insight to who I am, and then who you're subscribing to, or voice you're hearing. But if you are out there and you come across this because whatever the title catches you, or it's a suggested video, maybe you learn something in there, maybe you gain some insight and say, you know what, I'm a much better looking person than this guy talking to me on YouTube. I have a better voice. I'm more handsome. I'm prettier, more well spoken. I seem brighter. But he's doing it, so I know I can do it. Awesome. Create a YouTube channel. Put yourself out there. Be in uncomfortable situations, and you'll grow as a person. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and looking forward to the discussion in a comment. And those of you who follow the channel, I promise you the hat goes back on, and we'll get into something cool, vintage Christmas lights again, or vintage fans or heaters or tools, garage items, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks.